Hallo und willkommen zurück bei The Stanley Parable. Und jetzt wird es tatsächlich direkt ein bisschen spannend, denn ich habe mich noch nicht getraut, ich bin ganz ehrlich. Wir mussten ja letztens doch denn aus Zeitgründen, mittendrin abbrechen. Und ich fürchte,
This
genau
is the
das.
story of a man named Stanley. Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number
Müssen wir das
427.
jetzt echt nochmal
Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room.
So, Tatsache. Ach du meine Güte. Okay, dann machen wir jetzt einen Speedrun draus.
All of his co-workers
So,
were
das kennen wir
gone.
alles, bla bla bla
What
bla
could
bla
it mean?
bla.
Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
So. Zack. Huch. Ich habe tatsächlich die
When Stanley
Mausempfindlichkeit
came to a set of
runtergedreht.
2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Wir könnten jetzt auch mal einfach... Komm, wir machen jetzt einfach
This
mal
was
was
not the
Neues
correct
draus.
way to the meeting room,
So,
and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
Tschu.
Yes, truly a room worth admiring. But
Ja, ja.
eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Nein, wir machen jetzt genau das Gegenteil von dem, was er sagt. Und zwar ganz konsequent bis zum Ende.
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's
Okay, hier waren
incredible
wir
he
aber schon
wasn't
mal.
fired years ago. Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy,
Ich will
really,
da.
I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time.
Aber ich habe sehr fast befürchtet, dass man
There's
das
someone
quasi in
you've
einem
been
Durchlauf spielen muss
neglecting,
oder eben
Stanley.
dann
Someone
komplett
you've
von vorne
forgotten
anfangen
about.
muss.
Please, stop trying to make every decision by yourself.
Doch
Now,
nicht.
I'm not asking for me, I'm asking for her.
For her, genau. Da finden wir jetzt raus,
This is
wer
it, Stanley.
her ist.
Your chance to redeem yourself, to put your work aside, to let her back into your life.
Her.
She's been waiting.
Sie wartet auf mich. Aber wer ist denn sie? Komme ich hier irgendwo? Gibt es hier noch einen Ausgang? Einen Ausweg? Nee, ne? Ach, genau, die Nummer mit dem Telefon.
That's her, Stanley. You need...
Hallo? Hallo?
Oh, Stanley, is that you? Hold on, sweetie. Sorry to keep you waiting. I'm just pulling the bread out of the oven. All right. Okay, there we go. All right, now, I want you to come in and tell me all about your day.
Ach, genau, diese Geschichte.
Gotcha! Oh, come on. Did you actually think you had a loving wife who'd want to commit their life to you? I'm trying to make a
ja.
point here, Stanley.
Diese Sache.
I'm trying to get you to see something. Come inside. Let me show you what's really going on here.
Na, warte mal. Nee.
Sorry, but you're in my story now.
Ach, das ist aber jetzt... Also, ich meine mal... Okay, er will mir halt zeigen, dass ich wirklich in keinster Weise eine Wahl habe.
This is a very sad story about the death of a man named Stanley. Stanley is quite a boring fellow. He has a job that demands nothing of him, and every button that he pushes is a reminder of the inconsequential nature of his existence.
Ach so, hier über den Dings geht nicht.
Look at him there, pushing buttons, doing exactly what he's told to do. Now he's pushing a button. Now he's eating lunch. Now he's going home. Now he's coming back to work. One might even feel sorry for him, except
Guck
that
mal,
he's
das ist
chosen
das
this
Büro,
life.
was wir auch schon mal gesehen haben. Drücke Q.
But in his mind, he can go on fantastic adventures. From behind his desk, Stanley dreamed of wild expeditions into the unknown, fantastic discoveries of new lands. It was wonderful. And each day that he returned to work was a reminder that none of it would ever happen to him.
die 4.
And so he began to fantasize about his own job.
Aber
First, he imagined that one day while at work, he stepped up from his desk to realize that all of his co-workers, his boss, everyone in the building had suddenly vanished off the face of the earth. The thought excited him terribly. So he went further. He imagined that he came to 2 open doors and that he could go through either.
Oh, bitte.
At last, choice.
Lass mich
It
raus.
barely even mattered what lay behind each door. The mere thought that his decisions would mean something was almost too wonderful to behold.
Ich bereite ein bisschen Abendessen. Nee.
As he wandered through this fantasy world,
Versehen daneben
he began to
geklickt.
fill it with many possible paths and destinations. Down one path lay an enormous round room with monitors and mind controls. And down another was a yellow line that weaved in many directions. And down another was a game with a baby. And he called it the Stanley Parable.
Oh, Entschuldigung, meine Stimme ist heute etwas angeditscht.
It was such a wonderful fantasy, and so in his head he relived it again, and then again, and again, over and over, wishing
Ja,
beyond hope
genau,
that it
ich
would
will
never
andere
end,
enden.
that he might always feel this free. Surely there's an answer down some new path, mustn't there be? Perhaps if he played just one more time.
Ja, aber das hier kennen wir
But
ja
there is
schon,
no
deswegen
answer.
mache ich das jetzt
How
mal
could there possibly be?
ein bisschen
In
schneller.
reality, all he's doing is pushing the same buttons he always has. Nothing has changed. The longer he spends here, the more invested he gets, the more he
Obwohl man auch
forgets
sagen
which
muss, dass
life
es
is
jetzt,
the real
nachdem man ja
one.
manche Sachen schon gesehen hat, auch noch deutlich mehr Sinn macht, was er hier gerade
And
erzählt.
I'm trying to tell him this, that in this world he can never be anything but an observer, that as long as he remains here, he's slowly killing himself. But he won't listen to me. He won't stop. Here, watch this. Stanley, the next time the screen asks you to push a button, do not do it.
Naja, das haben wir ja nun auch schon probiert.
You see? Can he just not hear me? How can I tell him in a way that he'll understand that every second he remains here, he's electing to kill himself? How can I get him to see what I see? How can I make him look at himself?
Ach, ja.
I suppose I can't, not in the way I want him to. But I don't make the rules. I simply play to my intended purpose, the same as Stanley. We're not so different, I suppose. I'll try once more to convey all this to him. I'm compelled to. I must. Perhaps,
schon, weiter.
well, maybe
Kennen wir
this time
schon.
he'll see. Maybe this time.
Ja.
And I tried again, and Stanley pushed a button. And I tried again, and Stanley pushed a button.
Bitte stirb.
And I
Bitte stirb. Was, das ist, also ich bin entsetzt. Und erzürnt. Bitte stirb. Ich meine mal gut, ist so eigentlich recht höflich. Also da kann man jetzt nicht so viel sagen, aber also ich meine mal.
All of his co-workers were gone. What
Yeah.
could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Achso. Nee. So.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors,
Ich geh jetzt
he entered.
trotzdem
This was
mal-
not the correct way to the meeting
Ja,
room,
ich
and
will
Stanley
jetzt
knew
mal
it perfectly
was
well.
ausprobieren.
Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to
Oder wir
admire
gehen
it.
mal komplett den Weg, wie er es gern hätte. Dann will ich hier auch mal.
Wow. Yes, this room. What a beautiful room.
Was für ein Hinweis.
What a gorgeous. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Aber ich glaube hier, wenn wir jetzt hier weitergehen, dann gibt es keinen anderen Weg mehr, ne?
Stanley was so bad at following
Nein!
directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
Oh, das ist jetzt nicht wirklich gerade passiert. Da ist einfach die Tür zugegangen. Oh, nein. Kann man sich hier...
But in his eagerness to prove that he is in control of the story and no one gets to tell him what to do, Stanley leapt from the platform and plunged to his death. Good job, Stanley. Everyone thinks you are very powerful.
Ups. Ja, aber ich wollte... Das hätte jetzt wieder exakt in der gleichen Nummer geendet wie eben. Und da hatte ich jetzt, also...
Stanley decided to go to
Ich
the
wusste
meeting
nicht, dass
room to
die...
check on his co-workers. He never functioned well by himself and constantly needed support and guidance from others. So the thought of total solitude was terrifying to him.
Ja, ich wollte es jetzt mal ein bisschen abkürzen. Und ich meine mal, das ist auch mal was wir noch nicht
When
gesehen
Stanley
haben.
came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Ja, habe ich gemacht. Ganz bravi. So, jetzt genau. Hier waren wir auch schon mal.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
Genau. Oh, oder was war das? Hier ist eine Tür, die man öffnen kann. Oh mein Gott.
Stanley stepped into the broom closet, but there was nothing here, so he turned around and got back on track.
Haben wir hier irgendwas? Das ist die erste Tür, die man richtig aufmachen kann. Hier muss es doch irgendwas
There was
geben.
nothing here. No choice to make, no path to follow, just an empty broom closet.
Nein, ich
No
will das nicht
reason to
glauben.
still be here.
Nein! Ich bleib jetzt hier,
It
ich
was
ziehe.
baffling that Stanley was still just sitting in the broom closet. He wasn't even doing anything. At least if there was something to interact with, he'd be justified in some way. As it is, he's literally just standing there doing sweet FA. Are you really still in the broom closet? Standing around doing nothing? Why? Please offer me some explanation here. I'm genuinely confused.
Ich ziehe hier ein. Das ist jetzt... Ich wohne jetzt hier. Hier hinten...
You do realize there's no choice or anything in here, right? If I'd said Stanley walked past the broom closet, at least you would have had a reason for exploring it to find out. But it didn't even occur to me because literally this closet is of absolutely no significance to the story whatsoever. I never would have thought to mention it.
Aber irgendwas muss man hier doch machen können, oder?
Maybe to you this is somehow its own branching path. Maybe when you go talk about this with your friends you'll say, "Oh, did you get the broom closet ending? The broom closet ending was my favorite." I hope your friends find this concerning.
Okay, das ist einfach original jetzt.
Stanley
mein
was fat and
Lieblingsraum.
ugly and really stupid.
Ey.
He probably only got the job because of a family connection. That's how stupid
Ey.
he is. That or with drug money. Also, Stanley is addicted to drugs and hookers.
Sag mal, jetzt wird aber sehr unhöflich. Jetzt bleibe ich erst richtig stehen. Ich trinke mal kurz einen
Well,
Schluck.
I've come to a very definite conclusion about what's going on right now. You're dead. You got to this broom closet, explored it a bit, and were just about to leave because there's nothing here when a physical malady of some sort shut down your central nervous system and you collapsed on the keyboard. Well, in a situation like this, the responsible thing is to alert someone nearby so as to ensure that your body is taken care of before it begins to decompose. Hello? Anyone who happens to be nearby? The person at this computer is dead. He or she has fallen prey to any number of your countless human physiological vulnerabilities. It's indicative of the long-term sustainability of your species. Please remove their corpse from the area and instruct another human to take their place at the computer,
Toll, ich
making
werd einfach
sure they
ersetzt.
understand basic first-person video game mechanics and filling them in on the history of narrative tropes in video gaming, so that the irony and insightful commentary of this game is not lost on them. All right, when you've done that, just step out into the hallway.
Okay, einmal warte ich noch. Ein Spruch noch. Komm schon. Komm schon, Erzähler, gib mir noch einen. Hallo. Oh Mann, das war bis jetzt ja wohl das Allerschärfste hier. Komm schon. Okay, ich glaube, nachdem er mich für tot erklärt hat, hat er aufgegeben einfach. Er hat mich wirklich einfach buchstäblich aufgegeben. Na gut.
Ah, second player. It's good to have you on board. I guarantee you can't do any worse than the person who came before you. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Nee, letztes Mal sind wir nämlich hochgegangen und jetzt gehen wir tatsächlich mal runter. So. Da war nix. Schauen wir doch mal, was hier abgeht.
But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss, admitting he had left his post during work hours. He might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished? His boss would think he was crazy. And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. All of my co-workers blinking mysteriously out of existence in a single moment for no reason at all. None of it made any logical sense. And as Stanley pondered this, he began to make other strange observations. For example, why couldn't he see his feet when he looked down? Why did doors close automatically behind him
Das habe
wherever
ich
he
mich auch schon
went?
gefragt.
And for that matter, these rooms were starting to look pretty familiar. Were they simply repeating? No, Stanley said to himself, this is all too strange. This can't be real. And at last, he came to the conclusion that had been on the tip of his tongue. He just hadn't found the words for it. I'm dreaming, he yelled. This is all a dream. Oh, what a relief Stanley felt to have finally found an answer, an explanation. His co-workers weren't actually gone. He wasn't going to lose his job. He wasn't crazy after all. And he thought to himself, I suppose I'll wake up soon. I'll have to go back to my boring real-life job pushing buttons. I may as well enjoy this while I'm still lucid. So, he imagined himself flying and began to gently float above the ground. Then he imagined himself soaring through space on a magical starfield, and it too appeared. It was so much fun, and Stanley marveled that he had still not woken up. How was he remaining so lucid? And then perhaps the strangest question of them all entered Stanley's head. One he was amazed he hadn't asked himself sooner. Why
Jetzt bin ich
is there a
gespannt.
voice in my head
Ja.
dictating everything that I'm doing and thinking? Now the voice was describing itself being considered by Stanley, who found it particularly strange. I'm dreaming about a voice describing me, thinking about how it's describing my thoughts, he thought. And
Oh
while
mein
he
Gott.
thought it all very odd,
Das ist
and
aber
wondered if this voice
voll
spoke to
Inception.
all people in their dreams, the truth was that, of course, this was not a dream. How could it be? Was Stanley simply deceiving himself, believing that if he's asleep, he doesn't have to take responsibility for himself? Stanley is as awake right now as he's ever been in his life. Now, hearing the voice speak these words was quite a shock to Stanley. After all, he knew for certain, beyond a doubt, that this was in fact a dream. Did the voice not see him float and make the magical stars just a moment ago? How else would the voice explain all that? This voice was a part of himself too. Surely, if he could just...
Ja, was denn?
He would prove it. He would prove that he was in control, that this was a dream. So he closed his eyes gently,
Okay.
and he invited himself to wake up. He felt the cool weight of the blanket on his skin, the press of the mattress on his back, the fresh air of a world outside this one. Let me wake up, he thought to himself. I'm through with this dream. I wish it to be over. Let me go back to my job. Let me continue pushing the buttons. Please, it's all I want. I want my apartment, and my wife, and my job. All I want is my life exactly the way it's always been. My life is normal. I am normal. Everything will be fine. I am okay.
Das hat ja richtig gut geklappt, hä?
Stanley began screaming. Please, someone, wake me up. My name is Stanley. I have a boss. I have an office. I am real. Please, just someone tell me I am real. I must be real. I must be. Can anyone hear my voice? Who am I? Who am I? And everything went black.
Ja, ist ja überhaupt nicht beängstigend hier, die
This is the
die
story
Action.
of a woman named Mariela.
Was?
Mariela woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed, gathered her belongings, and walked to her place of work.
Was zur
But
Hölle?
on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. And although she would soon turn to go call for an ambulance, for just a few brief moments she considered the strange man. He was obviously crazy. This much she knew. Everyone knows what crazy people look like. And in that moment, she thought to herself how lucky she was to be normal. I am sane. I am in control of my mind. I know what is real and what isn't. It was comforting to think this, and in a certain way, seeing this man made her feel better. But then she remembered the meeting she had scheduled for that day. The very important people whose impressions of her would affect her career, and by extension, the rest of her life. She had no time for this, so it was only a moment that she stood there, staring down at the body. And then she turned and ran.
Puh, okay, ja, was soll ich sagen? Die Folge war jetzt so sehr, vielleicht ein bisschen morbide möglicherweise mit Selbstmord und auf der Straße wahnsinnig schreiend zusammenbrechen und so eine Sachen. Aber hey, in der nächsten Folge würde ich tatsächlich auch noch mal ein bisschen weiterspielen und gucken, ob wir vielleicht doch noch das ein oder andere weitere Ende noch hier aus der ganzen Geschichte rauskitzeln können. Denn, also ich muss ehrlich sagen, das Besenkammerende ist natürlich das Beste. Das ist keine Frage. Also ich glaube, darüber brauchen wir uns nicht streiten. Ja? Und wenn da jemand einer anderen Meinung ist, kann er das ja gerne mal kundtun. Ansonsten vielen Dank fürs Zuschauen und bis zur nächsten Folge.